Hey, it's David. Welcome back to Cross Fitness, helping men and women get in the best spiritual shape of their lives, one workout at a time. Quick thought here in this video that I'm calling the secret to obtaining contentment. And who doesn't want contentment? Oh my goodness, there is a famine in the land for contentment, to be content. You know, the Bible says that godliness with contentment is great gain. And our culture is completely against that. They're so unsettled. They're so wanting more than they have. And, so I'm thinking about some of the power brokers and captains of industry, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, are they content? They got the money, they got so many zeros after their net worth. And yet, all of them have just went through divorces. And so there's some level of discontent there. I'm thinking of J.D. Rockefeller. You know the name? Once upon a time, he owned Standard Oil. He had a monopoly on the fossil fuel industry in the United States of America, right? He reportedly owned 1% of all the wealth in America. And he was asked, how much money is enough? And he famously replied, just one more dollar. So this notion of contentment, how do we get it? How do we move past the things that we don't have and the lack and the relationships that didn't quite meet our expectations, and yet we were able to achieve contentment? Well, I think part of the answer we can find in Philippians 4:13. I love this verse. It's a very common when you'll see it on a coffee mug. I saw it on shirts running the middle half marathon, and people had it on the back of the shirts as they were passing me. It says, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Okay, but to understand that verse, you got to back it up to verse 11. And it's the Apostle Paul writing from prison, who says, I've learned the secret to being content. Here we go. And then he goes through a litany of whether I'm abased or bound, in need or want. We could ad lib rich or poor, in prison or not, having everything I want, or being profoundly dissatisfied with the way things are in our politics, in my life, academically, financially, and on and on. He goes on to say, I learned the secret to be content. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. That's the context of that contentment. And that's how we get to godliness with contentment is great gain. If you were to ask Paul, Paul, would you, writing this from prison, would you rather be free or in prison? And we would just say, hello, that's a no-brainer. To be content, I guess he'd rather be free. But Paul wouldn't say that. He'd say, well, that all depends. Where can God get the most glory out of my life in the present circumstance? Is it in prison or out of prison? See, everywhere he went, it was either a revival or a riot. And a lot of times they'd want to beat him up and kill him, stone him, and tear him apart. So Paul knew that God, Father, knew best. And so he was content with that, okay? He said, this very thing is causing the influencers of the Romans to be chained to me, 3 of them a day, right? And I'm having an influence, and God is causing this to work for good. So contentment, that's a word worth chewing on today. Meditate on that today, and let it be a trigger when you feel that little angst, that little something in your gut, when you feel things aren't going your way today. Let that be a trigger for an automatic response to think, wait a minute, let me think about contentment here, and see what happens, okay? I hope that helps. For now, I'm David, your virtual mentor, reminding you that I'm always for you. I am never against you. I hope you have a great day. God bless.